So I want to talk about the Stryd Foot Pod and the reasons why I actually picked it up. Now, I currently, for many, many years now, I've been running with my Garmin 205 or 305. The only difference between these two Garmins are the 205 does not have a heart rate strap and the 305 does. The 205 is blue, as you can see. The 305 is red. Big difference. The other difference is this thing has been a lifesaver when it comes to my tempo runs. I like doing tempo runs a lot. As you see in more and more videos that I have here, I do tempo runs more than any other run. And I like it, and I'll explain more in other videos. However, for this, I am trying to break the world record in half marathon. I'm attempting to do this. The reason I'm doing it, I want to be able to do 8 miles in 4:11, which is 4 minutes and 11 seconds per mile for 8 miles. And I think I can take that, bring it over, and do a half marathon at like 4:25. And I can explain in another video why I'm doing that and where I'm doing it and what it is. But I believe that between my Garmin and my Stryd Foot Pod, as I've tested enough, I do believe it is possible to do this by next year. We're now in the middle of October 2019. By October of 2021, well, 2021, no, excuse me, 2020 of next year, which is a year from now, I do believe these paces are possible. And I'm using my Garmin, and then I'm using my Stryd Foot Pod that I bought, which is $200. This is brand new. This is like $400 now. You get on Amazon for $100. Sometimes they want 300 people that had it before, and I've got it as low as $50, depending on where I can get it online. I have an iPhone, so I have a phone. I'm using the Strava app. So those are the three things I'm using to actually test everything going forward. I'm doing my runs. I'm doing well. So I started this whole challenge 3 months ago when I was living in Vegas before I moved here I'm in Washington now. So I was in Vegas. There's no wind, there's no rain, and all that stuff. So the reason I actually went out looking for this, which is the Stryd Foot Pod, was because my Garmin is not waterproof. It's before the waterproof is. And I tried multiple GPS watches, and I've noticed they're always off when it comes to pace and distance. You can have 3 people, 5 people, doesn't matter, all in a group running the same pace, running straight forward, and nothing changes, and they start and stop at the same time, and the pace and distances are off. That really did not sit well with me. I hated it so much. So what I wanted to do was get something that really worked well, and that was also waterproof. And I tried from Garmin to Polar. I never tried Suunto. That's how I look at it. I tried Polar and I tried Garmin. And I just got fed up with those two types. I didn't even try anything else. I just didn't like it. So what I would do is I put bags over my Garmin 205 or 305 and make it work. But it still got waterlogged. So this foot pod is now designed to be, it's a little waterproof, they say. I'm not sure how waterproof it is off the top of my head, but I know it can deal with the rain. And I actually fell in a puddle when I stepped in a puddle actually, and it didn't break. And I've had some rain here in Washington, and it worked so well, so it's been great. Now, the testing I've done, I've taken my Garmin, taken my foot pod, and I tested it in Vegas. I ran around a track, and I noticed the paces are on point. The distance was on point, and the pace was. I noticed my Garmin, because you're dealing with GPS, it fluctuates up and down. Especially going a slow run or maybe fast, it might fluctuate. You go up and down. If you do it to smooth, take the pace and go to smoother, or by 1 second, all that stuff, and it gets it a little bit better, so that way it adjusts quicker. But I noticed the foot pod is more on point, which is fantastic. Which I love that. It's one of the reasons why I was looking to have something like this. Because the difference between this type of Garmin and every other Garmin out there, something happened really. Garmin changed after this series came out. This came out in 2006. I remember the first time I bought it. I bought it at Roadrunner Sports back in Ventura County when I was stationed up there. And it actually took something that out of this that I think they should have kept and everything. Maybe not a lot of runners used it, but I used it a lot. Because I like tempo runs, and I use the tempo runs for my world record thing. I noticed the tempo runs are the key. And basically, if I want to run 4 miles or 8 miles and do a tempo run or whatever miles it is, I like to know what I'm running at what point. Because if I want to do, say, 4 miles at 6 mile pace, you have 6 mile pace for 4 miles, it's going to be 24 minutes. But I don't want to get to it at the end. Sometimes I want to run a consistent pace, right? And I want to be at the same thing at the quarter to the half, to the 3/4 of the mile to the mile. I want to be the same pace. And this watch, I know there's a mode on here that is not any watch I've ever had, and the mode was when you would set the distance and the time, or you set the time and the pace, or set the pace and the time. There's 3 different ways to do it, but you can set it up. And that way, when you're running, you can hit the pace you want. And if you're off, it lets you know you're 1 foot behind, you're 5 feet behind, you're 10 feet behind. And it goes black so you can see it. And then it goes clear and it tells you how many feet ahead you are, or if you're on point. So you're actually in the point. So you know if you're on or off the course. It actually was a lot more accurate, I thought, than doing just the regular, let's go for a run, hit start and go. I found it was very accurate that way, and it kept me on point. When I ran my first marathon in San Antonio almost 10 years ago, this is what I used to train, and it felt great. I've been trying to find a watch like this, because this watch I know is old school, and it's got some old issues. Sometimes it has trouble finding GPS, which is why I wanted to have something that was better. Now that I'm also in Washington, I need something that's waterproof, right? So the Foot Pod comes in, and I wanted to test it out. And I've been testing now. Like I said, it's outside's been great if it's straight. I noticed when the GPS watch goes off or you go into a tunnel, GPS kind of has issues with it, which I've had happen. I've also had my GPS go out completely. With the Foot Pod, I've actually had no issues when it going out so far. I've had issues trying to connect in the beginning. I had one time where it didn't connect very well. That was only like a one-time thing where it took a while to connect. Other than that, it connects pretty well once you get there. You give it some time, maybe shake it up. I guess sometimes it doesn't get connected, and it connects very well. I find there's 2 ways to use it though. The 2 ways to do it. The first way you can use it is to go into the Stryd app on your watch. I currently bought a waterproof 245 Garmin, the newest one out there, because I didn't want something that wasn't new, so I couldn't help it, and it's actually compatible, which I thought was great. And so I used the app on the Stryd for that 245, and when I used the app, it was actually interesting. The thing that I didn't like about it was it had set of fields you could use. You could set and everything. You had the lap ones, you had the regular runs, and different little fields. As you go into the watch, you can see. I didn't like that personally, those watches, the sets, because I've noticed that when you do pace, it's a little bit, fluctuates a little bit more. When you did lap pace, it was more consistent. And I noticed that when you would each hit your lap, I have it set for a mile, every mile hits lap, it would like recalibrate. And it's not too annoying. I know the GPSs do the same thing. At least I've always had those issues, the things that happen with the GPS. Not a big deal, but like I said, the pace and distance are on point outside. I get done a run, it might be off by 0.03 when you finish, which is fantastic. That's distance-wise, 0.03. So if I do 8-mile run, if it's only off by 0.03 from your GPS, that's not bad at all. And the pace is pretty well on. I notice like when I'm running and they both go off. Okay, this is at a certain time, and this might be 2 seconds off. Sometimes it's 2 seconds slower, 2 seconds faster. It might be a little bit more than you think, but it's pretty accurate, I think, and I like it a lot better because it's more consistent. I also use another way, which is when you use the actual watch face and just use the Stryd Foot Pod as your measuring distance and pace. That way you can use the actual watch's notification for the lap. I love the fact that the watch vibrates and it beeps a lot louder, because I notice if you're in the app, it doesn't really beep so loud. But if you're using the watch, it beeps and it vibrates. I love the vibration. So you can turn the beep off if you want, which is great. But the vibration is like good, because you're like, if I'm stuck in the zone and I'm just listening to music, sometimes I forget that it's coming up in the lap, and I'm just going, and the vibration helps. This is awesome. Now, a downside of the Stryd that I've seen so far is on the treadmill. Like I said, outside it's been on point. In tunnels, it gives me a pace. It's very good. Make sure you have a lap pace. Works better than just pace, because I know pace fluctuates a little bit more. When you're looking at it, I'm talking about real time. When you're looking at the pace real time, it fluctuates a little more. Lap pace, it's really actually more consistent, and it tells you can slow up, speed up, slow down, and it works very well. I noticed on the treadmill, I can't use my Garmin on treadmill, obviously, my 205 or 305, but I use a stopwatch, and I'm looking at the treadmill. So if I'm running a 7-minute mile, there's no 7-minute mile on treadmill, it's like 6:58, right? But my Stryd Foot Pods now says 7:10, so it's off by like 12 seconds. And I notice the same thing happens if I was at 7.5, but it goes from like 12 seconds, 15 seconds off, and it might change as each mile. Because if you notice, the Stryd Foot Pod, no matter if you're outside or inside, it like recalibrates the first like 1/10 of a mile every single time it hits the lap, which is annoying. But maybe it has to do that to recalibrate. I don't know. I say it recalibrates. I don't know if it really does, but that's what it seems like it's doing to me, is recalibrating. But it's always like it's gonna be off a little bit when you're on the actual treadmill. So I'm running the treadmill. It works great. It works fantastic. And the big reason, like I said, I bought this because it's waterproof. My Garmin 245 is waterproof. And then the other day when it rained out here, and I couldn't go out there with the Garmin. I was afraid it was going to short out. I went with the watch because my 205 is waterproof, this is waterproof, and my phone's waterproof, so I was able to use this with my 245, excuse me, and my my phone on Strava and do that, and they were both in sync outside. It was fantastic. But it's been doing very well, and this is my hope for this to actually do very well with the Stryd. I'm going to keep testing more of this as we go along, and I know this is a long, like a 10-minute video on this. I hope I got every point, and I just want to I would like to reiterate that my whole goal with this is to test. The reason I bought the Stryd Foot Pod, I never heard of it until I was looking for foot pods. There's foot pods out there. I've heard of them and everything years ago, but didn't think they really work because honestly, I didn't want to deal with the calibration. I really did not want to deal with the calibration of this. I really did not. I didn't really want to deal with having to go out there, calibrate my own, because I didn't notice I didn't do it, but I've read that when you go out and do a foot pod, that on these other ones for different companies, that you have to calibrate at 7-minute mile pace, and then recalibrate it for an 8-minute mile pace, and then do it for a 6-minute mile pace, and it had to change. You couldn't just get faster. This one said that out of the box, it's just good to go the way it is. And that's what I took as. So I haven't calibrated this. It just kept it going, and I know it's on point for what it is. I'm not sure what this does, which is probably why this costs like $200 for. But I do believe this is worth the money. If you don't like your GPS watch, you spend a lot of money. Like a GPS watch is $300-400, maybe $5 depending on what you get. Then you spend another $200 for this. Now you're at $700 almost for your running stuff. But for me, it's worth it for what I'm trying to do. And running to me is my zen, so I like doing it, and it helps me for where I'm trying to go for my world record. So this is going to get me there, I feel. I'll test more of it going forward, but so far everything's going great. I do think that it might work better for you. Remember, on lap pace, to keep your pace. It's pretty good on no matter what. If you're on lap pace, lap timer for your distance doesn't really matter, but the pace is what I matter for. If you don't care about pace, then this thing definitely is going to work for you better, I think, regardless. And I'll keep everyone informed on everything I do with Stryd, and yeah. Oh, and by the way, as a disclaimer, I never heard of them. They probably never heard of me, and I'm making this video because there's no videos out there talking about this foot pod. And effectively, there's not many videos out there. There's a few, and they did help me decide to go with this. But there's no real runners talking about it. Like, I've seen some of these real runners talk about it, but they talk about this with other stuff. And I wanted to do a video just on this. And I'm going to do some more testing throughout the few months, and I think I'll come back and do a volume 2 and actually do a breakdown of everything I've seen since I've started this whole program going forward. That's it. If you have any questions, you can always comment below, or you can just email me. It's runningfreewithjh@gmail.com. That works as well. I hope you see you in the future, and take care.